Silicon Valley, technology, art, green, and sustainability.
Welcome to another episode of Silicon Valley Tech, Art, Green, and Sustainability, SVTAGS.org. Today I have with me an artist and a book author, and I'm so very honored that you're here today with us, Donald Neff. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me. It's really exciting to be here.
Yeah, and you just actually came off from traveling and visiting your son.
I just got back from Japan, yes.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about yourself, and is this what you've always done?
No, I've done art ever since I was a kid, but I took a pretty roundabout way to become a full-time artist. And if you want to know a little of the story, I was born in Portland, Oregon, but I grew up in Pasadena, California, and believe it or not, a little town in rural East Texas, where I spent my teen years and my 20s. So growing up, I was always drawing, and in high school, I was the cartoonist for the school newspaper and things like that. And I used
cool.
I used to amaze my mother when I was a little kid with the drawings I did. And but when I got into college, I started pursuing a computer career, and I did that for 30-some years. So I've always...
So you were an engineer, or...?
I was a software programmer.
Okay.
I started way back when there were huge computers hidden way back in the vaults of big corporations.
So when it would have filled up this entire room,
yes,
the supercomputers that were
That's
like
right.
less than anything that we have on our phone now, right? So.
Oh, exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. I started with punch cards, actually.
Wow.
Way back then.
I remember
yes.
punch cards.
Yeah.
I think my first retail job when I was like 15 or 16, we had a punch card, time card. And
oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't
holes
think
in
they're
it
around anymore.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, no.
Yeah. Anyway, I moved to the Bay Area in 1979.
Wow.
At the time, I got a consulting contract at Visa, the credit card people in San Mateo. And I worked there for a couple of years. I was the project leader that wrote the software for the first credit card machines.
Wow.
that you see all over the world now. But I helped start that industry there. And of course, all the time I was painting. In fact, Visa put some of my paintings up in their offices at the time.
Sweet.
So, anyway, I left Visa after a few years, went out and did consulting all over Silicon Valley. I helped create some of the big credit card networks that interchange all the credit card stuff. Very technical stuff.
So you're probably loving seeing the chip being integrated now into the credit cards.
Yeah, they were talking about that almost when I was way back then.
Yeah.
Yes. So
Interesting.
I eventually formed my own company, and it was a software company. Basically, what it did was what the little credit card machines do, would do on a PC or a Mac. I was a Mac nut at the time. I actually started on the Mac. And I formed my own company, and it was very successful but small, and then I sold it out in 1999. So I was going to start another company, and then the dot-com bust came. And so I said, I'm just going to go paint full-time for a while. I've never looked back.
So that was 1999?
I sold the company in 99, but I didn't get totally out till like 2001 or so.
And were you from the Bay Area? You said, where were you from again?
Well, I grew up in Pasadena and Texas.
In Texas?
Yeah.
Where in Texas?
A little town called Big Sandy in rural East Texas, way out in the middle of nowhere, the piney woods.
Interesting. Yeah, I have family that moved from Texas to LA, so it's kind of interesting that a lot of people did that, I think. And then,
well, my dad was a minister, and they moved him around, and that's where they moved him.
Wherever the ministerial job was, right? So tell us about your art, and we have some behind us that's beautiful, but I'm also gonna pull up a slide 1, and this, I just love this, the colors in this. Tell us about this. How long does it take you to do something like this? And yeah, tell us about this.
That's Glacier Point from Yosemite Valley, and it's morning light. That's not a plein air. I did that as a studio painting. But when you're in Yosemite, in the early morning, the light just shines right on that point. And it's one of my favorite paintings because it kind of it just got all the right values on it, at least to me.
The color's beautiful. Yeah, the lighting is beautiful. So it's a morning setting. And is this one sold, or is this one?
I have that in my bedroom right now.
Okay. Well, we can't talk about price. We can pull that down. We can't talk about price, but
sure.
But
yeah.
So how long did it take you to produce that? You said so it was from a picture then that you took, or?
I've done a lot of plein air in Yosemite Valley, and it's based on that. I don't know if I painted from that exact spot, but I've done lots of Glacier Point similar to that.
Okay.
So.
So when you're not painting a plein air one, which that one wasn't plein air, does it just come to your mind what it was, or do you actually have a picture of it that you?
Picture and reference paintings.
And reference.
Yeah, every painting I do is based on a place I've been, places I've painted. I may change the scene around a little bit, but it's pretty much what I saw when I was there.
So that one's not for sale because it's in your bedroom, or people can call you and say,
well,
"Hey,
they can call
we
me,
like
yeah.
that one. It's beautiful." I could see some postcards made out of it. And,
sure,
yes,
beautiful.
Yeah. Let's pull up the second one too, and I think I've never been to Santorini. I've been to Greece, but not Santorini. This is beautiful. So did you paint this one outside, or?
My wife and I like to cruise.
Oh.
So we did a Mediterranean cruise, and we can talk a little bit about this later, but I always bring a little paint kit with me. And whatever I can steal away from the crowds, the groups that we go with, I'll do a painting. And Santorini is just beautiful.
The lighting?
I did 2 paintings that day.
Wow.
And then this one here is actually, the studio version of one that I did there, but it's fairly close to the original, but it is.
We can pull that down. And so how long did it take you to paint that one? Is that a couple hours, 4 hours? Is that
a studio painting that size, a few days.
A few days?
Picasso had it right. When people ask you how long it took you to do a painting, generally, like in my case, I'll say it took me 40 years to do that painting, because it's accumulation of 40 years of experience and practice and things like that. And generally, the best paintings are the ones you do the quickest. Like the ones you labor over and keep scratching things out generally don't turn out as good as the ones that just click.
So when you started painting, what was your inspiration? What inspired you to start painting?
Well, like I said, I've drawn all my life, and I got into a computer science career, and I didn't really start painting till after college, and I was still in rural East Texas. There's not a lot to do. I don't even think I had a TV, so I got an old oil paint set out that my parents had given me when I was in high school, I think, and just started dabbling. And I would paint from calendar pictures and stuff like that.
Was it always scenery, or did you paint people too?
Pretty much landscapes. When I was smaller, I used to draw people fairly well, but I've lost that. So,
I'm sure you're probably still just as good.
I'd have to try again.
Yeah.
But I didn't really blossom, I think, till I moved back out to California, and I started painting more from life. And
so there was no formal training then, or did you take one art class in college because you had to fill that requirement?
No art classes.
No art classes.
Once I went full time, like in the early 2000s, I started taking some workshops I'd find artists that I really admire, like real famous landscape artists. And one thing is, if you're starting out in art, I encourage you to take workshops. because the first workshop I took was from a famous landscape artist in Sedona, Arizona.
Wow.
Which is beautiful by itself
Yeah.
if you've been there. And it was the very first time I ever saw a master artist actually do a painting. And when I got home, everything changed. My paintings were twice as good, I'd say, as they were before.
Was that the inspiration of watching them, or their technique that they taught
Just
you?
watching him, it wasn't something that you could list, but just watching him and the way he painted. Like an example, every time he went to his palette, he mixed a slightly different color every time, which gives color across all of your painting. You know, if you keep putting the same color up there, it's gonna look blah.
Right.
But every time he went there,
So
and he never said that.
So that's a good
but
habit. I do that when I paint. I thought it was just a little accident, but it gives you more breadth of color
Exactly,
then.
yes.
Let's pull up the next slide too, and I think I'm behind. This is the third slide. This is amazing. So South America.
Yeah, there's a story behind that painting.
Okay.
We took a tour of South America. It was a land tour. And we went all over South America, but we spent 2 days at Iguazu Falls, which I've always wanted to visit. And I got the chance to spend about a day on my own doing plein air studies. And I always have wanted a big painting of Iguazu Falls in my living room. So when I got home, I took those studies and pictures that I had, and I did this painting. It's hanging in my living room right now. It's not really for sale, but that painting is 4 feet by 8 feet.
Wow.
It's huge. So anyway, when you go in my living room, you
So
see
it's almost
this
as big as
wall
me.
of water.
Just kidding. Wow. Well, let's pull that down for a second. So when you said studies, so you made a study of it. You made kind of a quick painting or
Yeah, I
drawing of it?
did 2 paintings of the falls from different spots.
And then you went back to the studio and created that one.
Created that one.
Because it's
yes.
just beautiful. I
Oh,
mean, the
thank you.
color,
Thank
it
you.
almost looks real. It's just, it looks like someone took a photograph and not a painting.
Oh,
It's just-
thanks.
It's just beautiful. So commission work, I don't know if we can get a close-up of this one here. Do you do commission work then for folks? or
I do whenever anybody asks. It's
am I in the way here?
usually a couple times a year I'll do a commission. Generally, I'll only do commissions of something that if it falls through, that I could sell it. Otherwise, something I'd want to paint. Actually, if you go to my website and you go to the demos part, I show the development of a commission I did for a couple. The fellow is actually on the Yosemite charity organization on the board. I can't remember the name. Anyway, and it goes through the whole thing on how I did the whole commission. I did studies, and then the interact. I even have some of the emails that we interacted with. So if you're interested in how I do commissions, that's a good example.
a good thing. So
Yes.
is it a long process then, or?
It kind of varies. Depends on
on
how
the person.
picky.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some of them are I'll do a pencil sketch and they say that looks great, and I'll do a commission. One, I think there may be a slide coming up I did of Yellowstone Falls.
Actually, that's the next one. Let's pull that up right
Yeah,
now.
pull that
The
up.
Yellowstone Falls is that?
No,
nope,
that's not the
actually
one.
that's not it. So okay, so
Yeah.
I think we're behind. That one is Soaring Between Two Blues.
Two blues.
And you're there on your motorcycle because you like to take off and do a little work on your motorcycle, right?
Yeah, but they're not the same thing.
Right.
I wasn't there on my motorcycle.
Yeah.
This painting actually hung in a U.S. embassy overseas for 3 years.
It's beautiful.
So it's in fact that's
and
an
why,
old acrylic
and why did they
of
pick
mine.
it? Because of the title or because of the eagle?
The ambassador wanted. Trying to think now. He wanted American nature's. No, they wanted wildlife.
Okay.
And so there's an eagle in here.
Yeah.
And the title is. Have you ever been to Crater Lake?
Yeah.
The water's
beautiful.
so blue, and the title is "The Eagle is Soaring Between the Two Blues."
Two blues.
So,
yeah. The blue and the blue.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've actually jumped off a cliff into the water
Oh,
in
wow.
Crater Lake.
I've never been down to the
Yeah,
water.
it was fun. A bunch of us did that. That was years ago, though. I think we went camping there. Yeah, so tell us more about your plein air artwork. And you've been doing the Los Gatos plein air for many years.
Yes.
Tell us about that for people that maybe don't know what that is and what that means.
Plein air is just a fancy term, French term for painting outdoors. That's all it means. In fact, it wasn't coined here, or was popular until 20 years ago. Some of the plein air artists were starting to form these associations, and so they came up with that. But of course, it's a French term that's been used for a century or two. But it essentially means going on locations.
Painting outside.
Painting outside.
Yeah.
And any good artist, landscape artist, paints in plein air, even if all they do is studio work. You can't paint from photographs. The reason being is they change all the values, like the shadows are too dark, the lights are too light, and many times it changes the color and that sort of thing. So you really have to go out and paint. And every painting I've done for the last, 30 years is a result of me being out there. So sometimes I may paint there, sometimes I'll just make color references.
And we met at the Los Gatos plein air.
That's
and
right,
How
yes.
long have you been doing that one? Like years?
Every year but one.
Okay.
The first one they had in 2004, I won first place and honorable mention. And they've also used my work, I think, twice in their banners.
Wow.
For the
Their advertising and banners
their
and brochures.
advertising, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a great show. It's I
It's
think
usually
one of the
really
better
hot.
shows. It is, yeah.
It's usually because it's summer. It's like June or August, I forget, but it's
It's in June now that they've changed it around a little bit, but it's in June.
so we're behind on the slides, so I'm gonna pull up I think the next one should be the Yellowstone one. I think it should be our 5th slide. Nope.
Nope.
Almaden Lake. Okay.
No, that's one for the Los Gatos show I
Okay.
did that they use for their banner, I think year
And it's
before
beautiful.
last.
I mean, look at the
Yeah.
colors there. It's just the reflection on the water. Again, it looks so real. It's
Oh,
just
thank
beautiful.
you, yeah.
And we pull that down.
That's Almaden Lake, right? Just South San Jose.
Almaden Lake, yeah. And that was for the plein air too, you
Yeah,
said?
yeah.
And then we've got the next thing I think I have on our list here to talk about is your books.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if I should hold them up so people can see it, but tell us about the books.
The first one, Plain Tahoe, is basically chronicles about 6 years of painting in Tahoe in plein air. I show in a
Tahoe
gallery
one, okay.
there. And that's an older one, but the one I really want to talk about is the creeks and rivers
This one.
of Silicon Valley.
Okay.
Recently, I spent a year, and once a week, I would go out and paint a different creek in Silicon Valley. And this was kind of a quest of mine, to paint as many creeks as I could in a year. And by the end of the year, I ended up with 60 paintings of 43 different creeks. And there's a few here you can see that I did
I don't know if
during
they
that
want to do a
quest.
close-up of these right now too. So these are a few of the ones that are in the book?
They're in the book,
They're in the
yes.
book, okay.
Yeah. And when I started it, it was just an idea. I wanted people to appreciate the little places around us. You know, everybody's rushing to work and all that. And there's so many beautiful little scenes under freeway, under bridges, in back alleys. I painted behind strip malls, painted looking through chain link fences.
Well, you said one of them in
and
there is
everything.
facing Eastridge Mall. That there's a
Yeah,
creek.
yeah. There's one of a sunset. You can see Eastridge Mall in the background, and in the book, each painting comes with a story. I researched each location, and there's so many interesting stories in the valley, and we could maybe talk about them in a minute. But
You said there was one about an Indian. Was it a wishing
Indian
water?
legend,
Okay.
yeah. You want to talk about that?
Sure,
I actually
yeah.
have the painting here.
Yeah, let's
It's I don't know if you can see it,
we can
but
get a close up of that one maybe. Do I need? Should I hold that one or you got it?
yeah. Why
Here,
don't you
I'll hold it and then you can tell us about this one.
This is a spring in South San Jose that most people don't know about. But there's a legend behind it. the Ohlone Indians, before white man came, Europeans, used to gather once a year in the hills of South San Jose. And they would feast, and they would have weddings or marriage, and they'd bless babies and that sort of thing. But one year, many people in the tribes were dying, and they didn't know what was causing it. So all the chiefs went out by themselves to talk about it. And when they were out there, a huge storm cloud came up, and out of the cloud, a beautiful lady floated to earth. And she told the chief of the chiefs, take your arrow, shoot it as far and high as you can, and where it lands, you will find the answer to your problem, to the disease. So the chief did that. He drew his arrow, and it flew off and hit, and they ran over there, and it had hit a rock that cleaved in half, and a spring was gushing out. So all the people drank of the water, and their diseases went away.
Wow.
That's not the end of the story, though. Years later, a man called Burnell, which you may have heard of, you can see Burnell all over, settled that area, and he'd heard the legend. And he thought, he was Catholic, of course, Spanish, and he thought it was Santa Teresa, the saint. So he called it Santa Teresa Springs.
Oh.
So you've heard of Santa Teresa
Yes,
before.
yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So that's not the end of the story. Later on, as the valley became more settled, people thought the water had magical powers. They used to sell it around San Jose as healing water.
Wow.
And they dug it out, and it became the first swimming pool of Silicon Valley.
Interesting.
So this one little spring has all of this history there.
And the water's still flowing?
The water's still there. That's what the painting was.
So we'll have
right
to look
there.
in the book and check it out.
Yes.
Has your artwork changed over the years, or is it
Oh, yeah, immensely. Every artist evolves, of course. But it changed a lot when I came out to California and I painted more from real life. But I spent about 20 years, I was painting mainly in acrylics. And I was doing very detailed paintings of acrylics. And then when I went full time, I went back more to oils and a little bit looser style. Did a lot more plein air, and it seems the more looser style I have, the better the painting sells. They call it painterly, where you have real thick brush strokes and things like that. But I continue to evolve.
I'm going to pull up a couple more slides. We only got about 5 minutes left, so we're going to pull up a couple more here. This is another plein air, and
Yes.
what did you say this is here?
That's Mission San Juan Bautista.
Okay.
And the little trail on the right is the original El Camino Real, the original dirt one, but it is also the San Andreas fault line.
That's
And
San Andreas, wow.
San Andreas fault line runs right there. You can see the hill comes down, and you can't see onto the right, but it's
Let's pull the
flat.
next one up really quick too. I think this will be number 9. And that's just beautiful. Pacific Grove.
Oh, thanks. Yeah.
And did you do this for a show,
That was
show
a
out there
plein
too?
air for the Carmel Art Festival.
And is that one you do every year? We can pull that down.
Yeah, I do Carmel pretty much every year. It's a juried process. You have to apply every year, but I've been doing it for like 10 years. So, and it's a good show.
What's been the biggest win for you as far as an artist?
I'd say not an award, but the biggest win is the recognition from the creeks of Silicon Valley that I've done. They've shown the entire collection in the Santa Clara County Government Center, and just the warm reception I get from people that, like I was telling you before, I've had grandmas come up and hug me after seeing the show or the exhibit and say I brought back their childhood, that they used to play in the creeks that I was painting. And to me, that really warms my heart. So to me, that's the biggest win.
Let's see, I think that, let's pull up the next slide. I think it's going to be the community slide. And is there something the community can do for you? Is there something that we can ask the community for?
Nothing specific, but I am still looking for exhibit opportunities for the Creeks of Silicon Valley exhibit. We have a couple coming up. 2 major municipalities are going to be showing it, but we haven't worked out dates or anything. But I wanted to reach as wide an audience as I can.
Sounds like Visa needs to host a show for you.
Maybe they should, yeah. Maybe if I could get a corporate sponsor and have a traveling show.
Yeah.
Because it covers arts, environmentalism, conservation, cleanup, and it covers a wide variety of things just besides just paintings. Local history.
Really quick, let's pull up the slide 11 and 12, and then I'm going to also ask you what year. This is just beautiful. That is probably one of my favorites. That's Tahoe,
thanks.
right?
Yeah.
Tahoe. Let's pull up another one too. And that too, as well.
Yep.
It looks just so real. We'll pull that down. Is there any last thoughts you have for the audience too?
Just enjoy your surroundings. Enjoy the little places. This is a cliche, but stop and smell the roses. You wouldn't believe what's in this valley. It used to be called the Valley of Heart's Delight. And one more thing, if you can, volunteer. In doing the Creeks Quest, I ran into a lot of conservation people. There's groups that are going out and cleaning up all the creeks so salmon can start running in. Believe it or not, there's wild beaver in downtown San Jose.
Yeah, we'll have to work on getting someone to clean up the Coyote Creek in our area.
Yeah.
My grandfather used to eat like 100 crawfish. We'd go down and get a bucket, and back then I used to scratch my head going, really? And now you see the stuff that comes through when there's rain. It makes you so sad.
Yeah.
I'm getting the closing, so thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you to the audience for watching us today. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, svtags.org. We have some educational meetups, so maybe next year we can do something together there. And make this a great week by conserving, reusing, and rethinking the way we choose to live here in Silicon Valley and beyond. Thank you for joining us on SVTAGS. Thank you.